There you go.
Okay.
Let's do this again. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Mad Maluks. My name is Sim. Along with me is my co-host Sheikh Amir.
Assalamu alaikum.
And back from vacation, my man Mort.
Assalamu alaikum.
Help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Maluks. Every little bit helps. Your support goes directly to the show. We don't make any money off of the show. It's entirely a listener-funded effort. We cannot survive without you, is what I'm trying to say. Oftentimes, we at least have the equal amount of all the donations that are coming in. Mm-hmm. We're putting in the same amount. So, yeah, we put in our own money to make this work as well. So it's not just you guys who are donating. We're donors of the show as well. So help us out in whatever you can. Folks, make sure you throw a comment in the comment section with your thoughts related to the show today. Click on the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Our guest today is author, lecturer, counselor.
Gangster.
Emad Deen, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Alhamdulillah.
As you know that the situation in Israel just broke
in Palestine.
Palestine.
Yes. Alhamdulillah.
You've been infected.
No, it happens like that sometimes. I even see Palestinians sometimes do it, and it's just, I think that they've worked on us so hard and so long that sometimes this thing becomes contagious.
Yeah.
Where, everybody's saying it, so you start to absorb it into yourself, and you have to kick it off.
I try to, even in my Facebook post or whenever I'm talking about it, just say Zionist entity.
Exactly.
It's only because this news today, I've just been reading Israel all the time.
All over. Yeah, you're already
Palestine.
It's amazing. It's elating. I was so tired last night. I seen it. My wife was knocked out, and I wanted to kind of wake her up and tell her, but she works hard, and I passed out. I was so tired yesterday. The things we have to do in this life, in this society, to survive, is draining, to say the least. So, but alhamdulillah, it's great news. It's only gonna get better. And the most elating thing about this is it's a slap in the face to every so-called Muslim government in the Middle East, and they're not Islamic governments; they're secular governments. From Salman bin Sharon in Saudi, which I don't recognize as Saudi, just as much as I don't recognize Israel, because that's the land of Hijaz. That's what we know it as. We don't know it as Saudi Arabia. That's something that was created by the British Zionists. It's elating. That's the best thing, is that it's a slap to them, because they bow down to these people and they think they've gotten on the winning side because it looks so great, because the United States and everyone else behind the Zionist entity is that I have to be on the winning side. And you see, it's not the winning side. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam stated, it's in the books of Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, where he said, there will come a time when the people from my ummah in and around Jerusalem, who will be surrounded by an enemy and will suffer colossal pain, and no one will come to their aid. They will learn the Quran and my Sunnah, and they will teach it to others. And I'm guessing in action by action, and they will be victorious and will be with me. They will be with me in the fountain of abundance, at the fountain of abundance, Jannat al-Firdaus. So he didn't say non-Muslims. He said, my ummah learn Quran and my Sunnah, meaning they've left the deen. They somehow forgot what it really was, and then they go back to learning it. And so this is some of the stuff, and I'm not a scholar, and I don't pretend to be a scholar. I don't know much of anything, but I do know some stuff, and Allah has given us wisdom. Sometimes some of the best Sahaba were the least knowledgeable when you put others next to them, but they've done strides in
They put in the work.
Yes.
They put in the work.
Yes. So alhamdulillah, it's a great day. It's a great day. And I say to those Palestinians who are on social media all year long posting about knafi, restaurants, their houses, their cars, their offsprings, and then when something like this comes up, they become free Palestine and waving flags like clowns. You should do that all year long, not wait for this to happen. Your social media, those things, those things from this world that you know, when one of the signs of the end of times is that the Bedouin, the desert Arabs, will be, you know, competing with each other in tall buildings. We should go around some of these mosques and see some of the houses around them. It may not be just the desert Arabs who are competing with buildings, tall buildings. We're building mansions around mosques to show which one has the biggest mosque. So when which one has the biggest mansion. So when everybody's coming out the mosque, they could look and say, "Oh, look, what's his name's mansion? Oh, but what's his name built a bigger one? Oh, a block away, Abu Muhammad built a bigger one." And this is so. I guess it might not be just in the desert. It might be here in Chicago too.
You know, I was telling these guys earlier before we got started in the show. I had went to bed super early last night. I just passed out. A busy day, and then I just somehow woke up around 3 a.m. in the morning. Like usually I wake up around Fajr. That's on, you know, late 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock around that time. And I just woke up and I'm like, oh, I don't know, something just woke me up, and I check out the alarms and it's like Hamas launches offensive on Israel, right? And I'm like, what? And it I don't know if most people caught this, because this is the first time that the Muqawama launched it first. Usually Israel will do their dirty work, exactly, and then they respond. Yes. So when I read that they had initiated, I'm like, oh man, something's about to pop off, right? This is bigger than just a skirmish, right? And I opened the news, and I opened Al Jazeera first, and I opened Al Manar, and I opened these different areas because I have the satellite, right? And I'm bouncing between YouTube and in the Al Jazeera English and all this stuff. And the first thing that I see is like the video of like these Palestinians dragging out this Israeli from a Merkava tank. And I remember saying, Alhamdulillah wa lakal hamd. I mean, it's just something instantaneously made me happy to see my brothers out there finally. Because you know why? Over the past, not year, not 2, not 3, not 4, even, I mean, just in the recent last 5-6 years, every time during Ramadan or Eid, or even for the Christians during their celebrations, they always ramp up their aggression towards the Palestinians, right? And especially recently, you're seeing videos of IDF members just shoving old women down the street, kicking women, arresting young boys for no reason, falsely imprisoning them. And then you see them storming Al-Aqsa, throwing gas over the people who are trying to pray there, preventing them from praying. Why? Because some settlers who are radical, who they know are radical, who they identify as radical, who are not supposed to be there, they're turning the blind eye, and they want to give them a safe passage to come and put their filthy feet in our masjid, right? Essentially. And you see the provocation, and we're sitting back sometimes, and sometimes you just lose hope. You're like, oh man, like, well, who's gonna get them back? Like, when are they gonna get theirs? Because every dog had to stay. When are they gonna get theirs? And then I wake up and I see this, and I'm Alhamdulillah wa lakal hamd. I'm like, man, drag them out. And then I see, like, the operation they did and how they flew in hand gliders as commando operations over behind enemy lines. They freed the tanks. They got APCs. They got bulldozers to knock down the fences between the area and then the new the illegal settlements and all the stuff. And I'm like, man, this is something that I have not witnessed in my lifetime.
It's unprecedented.
Yes.
And it's something that has not happened in I would say, since the creation of this so-called state of Israel.
I was thinking, when's the last time they actually took even a few hostages from the army?
It's been.
When's the last time that happened?
It's been a while, but this is even bigger than that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying even that little element
yes.
of taking army as hostage, because that's a big thing.
They've had like 4 or 5 times, but this is the time where they have like right now they're saying they said it was early 50, now it's at 200 IDF soldiers.
Yes. And even governments have not done what they've done in this move. I do want to. When I was in federal prison, I was in Milan, Michigan, and I had a long beard, and I was known in the prison. I was known as a strong Muslim in that community, and a guy came and told me, "Hey, there's one of your people over here. He just came in," and I said, "One of my people." So I got introduced to a guy because he was in Israel. He was an so-called Israeli. He thought he was like me. So he says, "Oh yeah." So he introduced me to him. I said, "Yeah, where are you from?" He said, "Israel." And I said, "No, before Israel." And he said, "Oh, you mean where my parents come from?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Poland." I said, "Okay. You need anything?" He said, "No, I'm good, this and that." In that situation, I could have probably done something to him because I had the power in that place. But I thought about it and I said, I'm going to treat him decent, because he was getting deported. So when he does go back, maybe if he's carrying a weapon and he has Palestinian people in his crosshairs, he might think about my good treatment to him. But I did tell him this. I said, I want to let you know something. I'm not mad at you. I said, I'm not mad at you. As a matter of fact, with all the money the U.S. gives you guys, keep building. Keep building. Beautify it even more. So that way when we come and get it, she's really pretty. And we are coming to get it. We are coming to get it. And anybody who says otherwise and believes otherwise within his heart is weak in faith and doesn't really understand this religion of Islam, and has not studied the religion of Islam and has given up all hope. And if he's a Palestinian and he's a weak Palestinian, I do want to address something on one of the comments when you made the announcement that we're having this show. I do want to. One of your guys made a comment. His name is Muhammad something, I forgot, but I did address him. As Muslims, when we see someone doing something that is positive, he said about the
name
Gangster.
Yeah.
And meaning
he said, "Oh, what a
silly
nickname. Silly nickname."
Yeah. So for him to understand, before we make comments, let's understand what is going on, then make the comment. Yeah. The name for Gangster, and I'll fix it right now, is that the gang I was in, the gang that I'm associated with, is called the Saints. Saints, like saints, So if we were to name the book The Jerusalem Saint, it would sound like a religious book, and no one would even be interested. So a friend of mine who was
it could also be confused like a Christian saint.
Well,
that's how they refer
of course.
To it.
In religion in general, but it could be Jerusalem associated with Christianity and Judaism to the Western world. They would take it as a Christian book or something with that. So a friend of mine who's a gangster disciple is GD. I was in federal prison with him. He's the one that actually was the last push for me to write the book. We came up with the name. He said, "Emad, Jerusalem being a positive, Gangster being a negative, it would attract some attention." And that's the purpose of the name. We're not trying to glorify anyone and say, if that's what you thought. So there's nothing silly about it. Sometimes you need to just listen and understand before you make comments, especially as Muslims. And I just wanted to explain that.
There's always people like
that.
There's always
No, it's not an issue.
I've given up on trying to fix them, and
it's not an issue. I just wanted to address him so he has an understanding of why, because it's not a glorification or anything like that.
That's a very good clarification.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, at least related to this issue, is the importance of parents, how important it is for parents and families, but whatever social circle you're in, to bring up this issue of Palestine, keep it alive in your heart. Yes. I know it's a very exhausting issue. It's very, it's something that spends your energy really quickly, and then you wait for something big like this where, sometimes the passions get stirred up. But it's important, just emotions are very up and down, and people end up forgetting about things, but it's important that this issues are always talked about in my family. When I was growing up, I learned about the whole Palestinian issue right at the end of the Intifada, like the early 90s.
First Intifada.
Yeah, the first Intifada at the 80s and 90s, and I was around 13.
87 to 93,
so
94.
What I did was, my mom, just this week, she was emptying out her attic because they were moving to a different home, and she found one of my school projects. So when I was like 7th grade. So I wanted to share with you guys.
That's cute, bro. But
so this is it's I gotta zoom this in. It's what I don't know. I think this guy on the top is like Islamic Jihad or something. I don't know. But yeah, this is one of. So on the next one here, like it's like a giant poster board. So I'm doing the whole thing on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and then I drew something here where it's the United Nations is backing the Jews here. Over here. I'm submitting this to a non-Muslim American school. Here's the Palestinians here on the side, and here's the Arab countries. The Palestinians like, guys, I think I need backup, and the Arab countries are like, just little tiny guys over here on the bottom.
Meaningless, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not that, super thoughtful or anything, but it's
that's
just
a 7th grade, bro.
Yeah, it's just a 13-year-old,
No, I think it showed that there was an awareness and a genuine care for something that's happening to the point where you are, where it was important enough for you to feel compelled to write something about it and to let other people know about it.
Bro,
and I credit my parents, man.
Absolutely, I was about to say that. And this is what's supposed to have been happening in every household of every nationality of Muslims. This is what's supposed to be happening, because the Palestinian issue does not solely belong to the Palestinians. Masjid al-Aqsa does not belong to Palestinian people. Masjid al-Aqsa belongs to Muslim people, every Muslim around the world. So even as a Palestinian, I had to come to the understanding that you have to be careful that you're not more nationalistic for Palestine than to want it to be an Islamic issue. Meaning you don't put your nationality before Masjid al-Aqsa. And my fight for Palestine is basically an Islamic fight, and I tell that to anybody. And when I say that, I'm not excluding Christians and Jews to say that my fight for Palestine is an Islamic issue, meaning Palestine, Jerusalem, Al-Quds, which is our name for it, belongs to Muslims only. Muslims ruled it while others lived there, and they were respected, and they were granted all their rights. Palestinian Jews, Palestinian Christians, Palestinian Muslims. And this is the thing. So when I say Muslim, they get riled up and think I'm saying that it belongs. Then I would be no different. I would be just like a Zionist to say that it only belongs. It was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, when he came and conquered Jerusalem and was given the keys to Jerusalem without a fight. It was him who sent out a Jewish revert into Islam, after finding out there are no Jews in Jerusalem, to go out and find 80 Jewish families and bring them back into Jerusalem to live in Jerusalem to complete the circle. Meaning Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Now it's complete within the walls of the old city. So that's the whole thing about this. But every family should know about this. I think the Muslim world suffers immensely. The Muslim world is because think the 70s and the 80s and the 60s, the word terrorist was exclusively for Palestinians. It was exclusively for Palestinians. And the whole world sat idly by, the Muslim world. And this is why I believe, this is my opinion, this is not factual, this is my opinion based on what I've seen, what I've heard, what I've read, and my understanding, is the suffering of the Muslim world is because the Muslim world has left Masjid al-Aqsa, have left the true essence of Islam and the attachment of Islam to Masjid al-Aqsa, and they put it on the Palestinian people. There's nothing more disturbing to me and upsetting to me than I hear a Muslim say, may God give you guys victory. May God give us victory. The victory is not ours. The victory as a Palestinian is for us Muslims. This issue is as much yours as it is mine. And when you sit idly by and you don't do nothing, we have the problems we have in the Middle East. And nationalism is the root cause of the problem. When Salman al-Farsi, may Allah be pleased with him, when Rasulullah came to Medina, and Salman al-Farsi had been a seeker of knowledge and a seeker of truth for so long. He was a Zoroastrian at one time, he was a Christian at one time, I believe he practiced Judaism at one time. He was constantly searching and seeking. By the time Rasulullah came to Medina, he was enslaved. He had been already captured and sold as a slave. So he left the plantation or whatever he was on to go see Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in Medina. And when he met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he realized, this is him, this is who I've been seeking. The decision was made for him to go back to his slave master because he was bought. Look at the difference with the Muslims. Rasulullah gonna say, stay here, that's it, you don't have to go back. But because that guy had legally purchased him, they honored that and sent him back. And you know how it took them a couple of years to go gather the money to go buy him out. When they bought him and he came back to Medina with them, there was new Sahaba that were not there when he took his Shahada. So when they saw him, they looked at the older Sahaba and they knew him. Hey, Salman. The new one said, who is this guy? So they went to him and said, who are you? And he said with pride, I am Salman al-Farsi.
Allahu Akbar.
And Rasulullah said, Ya Salman, isn't it better to say, Ana Salman al-Muslim?
SubhanAllah.
This is nationalism is a disease. It's a disease that has destroyed the Muslim world. This thing of I'm a Syrian, I'm a Lebanese, I'm a Palestinian, I'm a Jordanian, I'm a Egyptian. These are just points to show where you come from. Nothing more than that. Islam supersedes all of that.
Lines devised by the British in the first place.
So the biggest problem we have is that this is true, that nationalism causes this, but to understand the proper context, this hyper nationalism was born after the fall of a unified Islamic state. Absolutely. Regardless of how powerful it may have been or the internal problems they had. But when Ad-Dawla Uthmaniyya, when it came down, right, people were left without leadership. Yes. And people decided to assume power. And then they began to adopt other ideologies. And then you have the Arab Socialist Revolt, right? And that leads to places like things like Kemal Abdel Nasser.
Yes.
The Ba'athist movement.
Yes.
Michel Aflaq. All these things that happen. And what ends up happening is that the condition that we're in today is a direct result of that hyper-nationalism that we were subjected to early on.
Exactly.
And what that means is that they would rather have more loyalty to someone based on the association to a flag rather than their brotherhood in religion. Yes. So religion means second, because the whole idea, if you look at the Arab socialist movement at that moment, it didn't matter whether you were Christian, Jew, atheist. They had all kinds of people, right? What it mattered was that, okay, you and I both love this flag, and we're going to do whatever we can for this one flag. And people who like a different flag, we want nothing to do with them. All their interest comes second. Our interest for this flag comes first.
Exactly.
Right? And so that effectively what it does is that it removes that idea that this person doesn't matter where he's from, even if he's from across the border, this new border, it doesn't matter to me because he should be a Muslim and I should be worried about his interest. But now what this tells you is that, you know what? Yeah, you can feel bad for him, but never compromise your interest for his. And that is exactly the opposite of what we do as Muslims, right? For us, we don't see that land. For us, this is, the Muslim land. It doesn't matter whether you're all the way in Bangladesh or you're somewhere in Egypt, right?
Exactly.
There's no difference between the fact that a Muslim should be able to freely travel in between those areas, to have the same level of respect, honor, dignity, care, protection, all of that, right? That's how it should be. But the hyper-nationalism is what has caused that to deteriorate. People, even nowadays, right? Like you'll find, for example, and this is just to bring it up because we're talking about Palestine, but and sometimes when people get frustrated with the issue of Palestine, meaning how things are happening, and after 70 years of this, right, people tend to burn out, right? Yes. And in order to justify some of these things, right, you'll find maybe a Lebanese will say something about Palestinians,
exactly,
right, or a Syrian will say something about them,
exactly.
Oh, they came to us. Look what they did in our refugee camps, and then the Palestinian will say something about them. Oh, they're not really religious people. Look at them. They're all like this, and they end up resorting. Their default is to go back to the flag. Right, but in reality, if you look at it, like what is Lebanon? It's Surya al-Kubra. There's nothing.
It's all Bilad al-Sham.
The whole thing was a sham. Yeah, it was all a sham. Yes. Right, but now they actually think they convinced themselves that there's a difference in food and language and all these things, culture. I mean, you have even people now who claim to be Phoenicians, as if they're not Arabs, right?
In Lebanon.
Yeah. But the funny part is, if you look into it deep, right, these Phoenicians are Arabs, the first wave of Arabs that came in there. But this idea, they've adopted this thing that we are unique, we're different, we're not them.
You know why that is? That's because they've made it for a long time to be shameful of yourself, to be ashamed of your identity. Even on Popeye, the cartoon, they show the Arabs coming in as thieves, and they snatch olive oil by her ponytail.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dragging her.
Those episodes.
And then Popeye whoops all of them. Popeye whoops all of them, and these are savages.
Yep.
So even I've walked into a place where I recognized this guy, and his brother was a boxer. This is after being released from federal prison in Plainfield in a Citgo gas station. And I said, hey, أنت مش أخو الملاكم, the boxer? He had his sleeves rolled up, like the old days, the 50s with Fonzie and all those guys.
Greaser.
And Greaser.
Yeah.
And he said, "تحكيش عربي.
Don't talk Arabic.
Yeah, تحكيش عربي قدام الناس." And the guy has a strong accent. He doesn't have it. He doesn't speak English like me and you. And I looked at him with such disgust in my eyes and my heart that I said nothing else to him and left out. So they've made it shameful, and this is why many people tend, even Gulf states, tend to lean towards Israel. That's why I said about they think they're going on the winning side, on the modern side, the side that has modernity in it. They don't realize, because they've closed their mind, that nakedness, orgies, alcoholism is not modernity. Islam is modernity. Islam came after that to wipe that out.
Allahu Akbar.
So that's modern. That's modernity. That right there is savagery. And I'm not saying stuff I made a lot of mistakes. I still make mistakes, but I'm saying this. I stand with at least the old saying is this: who is better, a guy that prays 5 times a day and says it's not obligatory, or a guy who doesn't pray at all but says it's obligatory? The guy that prays 5 times a day and says it's not obligatory is worse than a guy who doesn't pray but says prayer is obligatory upon me. And you have people like that. So that's the thing. The other part about the Palestinian issue I've had to learn, I came to understand, is this. It took me some time, and even our own people are guilty of it, is when they say these are our cousins. These are not our cousins. These are Europeans who converted to the Jewish faith. Most of the stuff they do has nothing to do with being a Hebrew or speaking Hebrew. It's all Yiddish. The Hebrew of today is 3 languages in one. It's not the Hebrew of 290 AD that stopped being spoken in 290 AD. By the time Jesus Christ, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, came, spoken Hebrew was gone. He spoke Aramaic. So the Hebrew of today was revived by Ibn Yehuda in 1883, I think, or 85. And it's a third Arabic, a third Greek, and a third Hebrew. So it has a name for it, and the name for it is it's a bastardized language.
Yeah.
It's not a complete language, it's a bastard language. I didn't say that, but that's the name for it because it's not a pure language.
Actually, just one quick note on that is that They came up with this language they speak in Israel now, is what they mentioned. But even, here's the thing, even in their Torah, the Chumash, the 5 books they have, it took an Arab Jew, Sadia go on, to actually, in like the 900s, and the 1000s, to be able to use his knowledge of the Arabic language, because he was an Arab speaker, right? To be able to reconstruct what the Hebrew language would be, what the Torah would be in Hebrew.
Wow.
So he wrote that. That's why the earliest copy you have of a Torah that you have is from the 10th century, which is from the Arabic, which is what they used to derive the language. It's Sadia Goan. You can look him up. He's an old figure, but they did not have a written book. They didn't have these things, a complete copy. So to his point, and later on, they used that as a basis to say, oh, but even that language that they write, that they use, is still nothing. It's, even though it's better than what they speak right now over there in Israel, but it's still, even that is a bastardized version. And this is even worse. This is like half Arabic, half Yiddish, half like, it's just Russian words. Like think about it, bro. They love to say Habibi all the time. And they don't have this in their language. They just they put an accent on it and say, oh, it's Hebrew. Right? But it's not really. It's actually Arabic. They're saying Habibi. Even when they swear, they don't even know how to swear in their own language. They have to swear in Arabic. I'm telling you. This is true.
It's true. Very true. And so the thing is, I even with my people, our cousins, and I say, bro, don't be saying stuff like that, man. Don't say stuff. You legitimize these people when you say they're your cousins. And the thing about cousins is, it's meaning the Isaac and the Ishmael. First of all, if you read a little bit of history, even a simple Encyclopedia Britannica, it tells you that in 638 AD, when the Muslims came to Palestine, the inhabitants in and around Jerusalem liked the Muslims' way of life and their behavior so much, they reverted to the Islamic faith, learned the Arabic language due to the importance of it, the Quranic part of it, and then the term Arabized Arabs. So the Palestine...
I mean, that's just the only way, because the stream got cut off, so there's no way that it's going to resume it.
I just want to make sure it's stable.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. There we go.
All right. White Daisy sucking for
this,
That's awesome.
That was the old one.
I don't understand. Yeah. So the first thing that pops up.
See how I'm telling you up top of the end stream?
Oh, no. Oh. Yeah, I didn't want to end it. Okay. I think we're back now. All right.
And the mute part doesn't matter?
It's back. The Matrix, folks, the Matrix was at us. They were trying to get us down. You know what happened? I had actually just changed the title to Palestine Under Siege by the Zionist entity. And so I was removing Jerusalem Gangster. And as soon as that happened,
Ajib.
It just seemed like a big hacker attack or something.
No, it might have changed like the stream permissions, because when you change.
Hey, let's look at this story. This one sounds cooler. Right, Why you gotta be all technical and factual?
My whole internet was down. My entire internet was down.
Oh, they doxed you? Okay.
Yeah, they came after us.
DDoS attack or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They just
you never know, bro.
But
anyways,
So I meant the acceleration theology, but yeah.
Yeah. So this guy wrote a book called Forcing the Hand of God. It's really a good book. You find it in some masajid sometimes. And what it is they want to accelerate, as the brother said, the return of Jesus, peace be upon him. So they figure, if we send all the Jews and help them to get back over there, right, and then have them knock down Masjid al-Aqsa and build the temple, that will force God to send Jesus, because now things have been done and completed. We don't have to wait for it to take its course naturally. And that's the thing. Here's the other thing is, and the Jews know that the Christians want them to do this. Yes. In the meantime, the 70% of the Jews are to be wiped out after this act, and they know they want them all killed. So they work in conjunction with each other, but the other ones are not willing to do certain things. But the thing about this is this other part, the term Jew. So they try to play this ethno-religion. It's ridiculous. And they try to use the Hindus for it. The problem is the Hindus, those people who practice their religion, all look the same. They're not multinationality. Your religion, you have 72% Ashkenazi, which means Germanic, German, European, Eastern European, or Western European Jews. Then you have the Africans, then you have the Asians. There's also Filipino Jews there, and Chinese, and Japanese, and Somalis, so how did the children of Israel, one man, Jacob, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, have 12 sons, but all these 12 sons happen, one is Chinese, one is African, one is, and
there's still one lost one, the lost tribe.
And so dogs have multicolored dogs, but not human beings. So now, then the term Jew. So the Jew is one tribe. All you guys are from this one tribe, but all you guys look different. Jew was a nickname given to Judah by his people. A nickname for Judah by his people. So when God says, and these people argue, that this land was promised to the Jews, you'll never find anywhere in Torah or anywhere where it says it was promised to the Jews. If nothing else, it says promised to the children of Israel. The chosen people were the children of Israel, not Jew, one tribe. So this is another misconception. So those who follow the Torah all have to be Jews. It's more nonsense. It's more propaganda. Things that have been told as a lie for so long, they become the truth. And this is a prime example of one of them. So they are invaders, and that's all there is to it. And they're not from the children of Israel.
And the irony is that the people that originally who are Middle Eastern Jews, we're talking about Yemenite, they're called Mizrahim, like the Persians, Middle Eastern, Iraqi, Yemenite. They are second-class citizens.
Exactly. In the land of Israel.
Land, right? Even the Amharic, like the Ethiopian Jews, who are, probably, because you have to understand the Horn of Africa and Southern Arabia and these areas, they're very closely intertwined back in the days. Especially in the fact that there were a mixing of empires, right? For example, when before Abraha was in power, Surafil, the Aksum Empire had conquered South Yemen, and so there was a joint empire. You had Jews like the Nawas, Abu Karib, who was in power, who was a Jewish king there. So you can understand that there's a relationship between them, right? But what we find is that there are Jews who are coming from outside of this, and genetically they have different DNA, by the way, haplogroups. Like, there's certain haplogroups that tie the Horn of Africa and the Middle East together, or the Arabian Peninsula together. And there's a separate haplogroup. This is genetic testing. They divide you. They have Y DNA, which is paternal DNA, and they have mitochondrial DNA, which is your mother's DNA, right? And Jews generally test from mother to mother to mother, right? That's how they determine their Jewness, right, essentially. But their mitochondrial DNA is entirely different from the Y DNA and mitochondrial DNA of Middle Eastern Jews. Entirely different. And so if you're going to be in the same family, right, in the same tribe you're alleging, you have to share that DNA.
Exactly.
You cannot be a different DNA.
Where did you learn about this stuff?
Hello, you're talking to Mort, dude.
I know. I'm just wondering if there's
He's
like a book or something.
bro.
Oh, no. So
I discuss a lot of this in this book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I discuss a lot
Maybe
of it.
talk about
Land
that a little bit
Palestine.
in there.
It's available on Amazon.
Yes.
Can you read that up again?
Yeah.
Beautiful book.
Yeah.
My Land
Palestine. It's this book, more than me writing it from me, it came to a point where I said, based on what I've known, how I have to fight, the research I've done, it's a lot of transplanted information. So there's things in here even from Jews, things in here from Christians, things in here from non-religious people, religious people. So it deals with a whole slew of things. So this book is all transplanted information. The DNA, what he was talking about, is discussed in here. So a little bit of everything is discussed in there.
Yeah, and I think this is the reason why I know about this is because I've also done like a DNA test just to see what comes out, right? And it's funny because with every single person of Middle Eastern descent, they always try to tie some kind of Jew to it. I could say, there's a Jewish cluster here, there's a Jewish cluster there, right? Like imagine this. Like in my own DNA sample, it said that 30% of the people that match me are Jewish people.
Wow. So you're 30% Yehudi.
That's what they want to say.
We've been infiltrated.
Dude, can you be kicked off the map?
Still, but that's what they want to say, right? But what they're doing is, here's what they don't tell you.
Legitimizing.
not only that, the way they present the data is skewed. Because, first of all, genetic testing is very new. It's the idea that it's 99% accurate is actually false. It's only accurate with direct, like close lineage, like from father to son if you're doing paternity testing, right? But if you go back in terms of genealogy, like generational, there are many problems with this. So number one, first of all, for example, I'll give you an example of this just so you can understand this. If they did a DNA sample today, let's say 1,000 years from now, we're all dead in America, right? Mm-hmm. And they took your DNA sample and his DNA sample and mine, right? So right now, we have different DNA origins, right? But they're going to say, oh, you know, if somebody got tested from America 1,000 years from now and they compared it with yours, they say, yeah, you know what? You're part American because Amr Saeed was actually in America. We found his remains here.
I see what you're saying.
Right? But you've migrated here already. Right? You're not originally from that land. And so what they do is they take a culmination of data and they say, okay, well, this person, a lot of these kinds of people here, they have the same SMP markers, which are check marks that they're basically divisions in the mutations in the DNA that are shared by large clusters of people. So as they migrate, they went through genetic changes, right? And so they track these genetic changes and they say, oh, well, so we know that a group of people who were living here had this certain marker and you actually share this marker with them. So you probably are, we know that there's a Jewish population here. So you probably are 30% Jewish or 20% or 10% Jewish. But it doesn't really mean anything. It could have meant they migrated. Because why? Even from their own scripture, we know that the children of Israel will be blown across all four corners of the earth. Right, they're not supposed to be. They were exiled from the Holy Land, right? They were cast out. They went all over. They were in bondage. They were in slavery, right? This is what it was. So they got taken all over the world. Just because they were there doesn't mean that you descend from them. And that's one of the problems they try to do.
That's
because
interesting.
That's why you'll say, people will say I'm a quarter Jew. What does that mean? You're a quarter Jew. I'm 1/8 Jew. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Like that's like when the white people come out and say, oh, I'm like 1/16 Native American. Like, it doesn't mean anything. What we really and to be honest is if you start tweaking these like my DNA, all these little sites for the higher accuracy you go, the less results you're going to get because they cannot produce that. And the only way this works is as more and more people from your background test, the results become more and more accurate.
Yeah. No, just that's very true. The one thing I still remember in high school, I think I was in 10th grade, and there was we're in a social studies class or biology, I can't remember. We're discussing just like things that are like hereditary traits and all that kind of stuff. And there was like, it was so funny. This is in Glenbard East. There was only like 2 or 3 white people in that class. Everyone else was black, Hispanic, some Indians and stuff, right? So these Godus try to act like they're all exotic, right? Godu means like the Abiyad, you know, the white people. So they were like, hey, yeah, so where are you originally from? Like, I'm a quarter German. I'm a quarter Native American. And we're like, dude, shut up, dude. You're white, dude. Stop it. Bro, they got so mad, especially this girl. She was about to cry, bro. She got so mad. Yeah. It's kind of funny. But if I can just share one update. One of our brothers, Allah reward him, he just keeps sending me some updates. Netanyahu said, what happened today will not be seen. This is just right now. What happened today will not be seen in Israel, and I will make sure this does not happen again. The IDF will immediately use the full force to destroy Hamas capabilities. We will avenge this black day. We will turn all the places in this evil city where Hamas is hiding into ruins. Residents of Gaza, get out of there now. So, you know, one interesting thing is I was just thinking about is when... you know, Saudi was a part of the Abraham Accords, and the Palestinians felt that they were not talked about enough, and the Muslims felt that Palestine was not talked about enough. In a time like this, to get back into those conversations, and everything that's happening as far as surrounding, you guys heard about the blockade that happened as far as employment in Palestine, and it's just the Palestinians, I think it was for like the past 2 months, and even neighboring countries were like, you know, they can't work right now because it caused a blockade for them to cross over and work, which was on the Israeli side. It was causing a lot of tension, all this buildup that was occurring. What do you guys say about the people who are on political analyses? For instance, they said that Mossad didn't miss anything. Some minor sacrifices have to be made to justify what's coming. And people saying that... Israel's prime minister And I mean, Netanyahu knew that this was going to happen, but needed it to happen because of the re-election that happened at the beginning of the year to reunite the Israelis, because there were kind of disunity amongst them, and to bring unity back to Israel. There had to be this thing that had to happen, so let it happen, and then we can reunite by attacking Hamas, or Hamas is going to do this anyway. So jeopardize their security, make them feel insecure, and then reevaluate everything and reunite the Israelis. Like, there's so many different theories out there. What do you guys think about that, though? Like,
Nonsense.
this kind of, you think it's nonsense?
Nonsense that he knew about it and he let it happen and stuff like that. These people do not look to sacrifice not one of their people. First of all, they don't need to sacrifice any of their people because they're fully in control. They don't need to make any changes to, like, they're somehow, some way that they're losing at a certain point and they need to do that's nonsense. That's just a clean face. And even to like say
thank you. There's so many conspiracy theories just like this.
Listen, Hamas and the fighters outsmarted them. They don't even want to give us credit for that. They want to try to take the credit that we allowed something, that the possibility that they would have allowed something to unify the people, a little sacrifice. These people, this is a slap in their face. This is something that has not happened in 70-something years, not even by governments with full military power. It has not happened.
But check this out. Sorry to cut you off. Just along your train of thought. So Gaza, biggest open air prison in the world, right? Yes. If Israel has the best surveillance in technological surveillance in the world, but doesn't have boots on the ground in Gaza, at least that's what a majority of people believe, right? And a lot of this gets planned out of Gaza in some neighboring areas. What is this just a slap in the face also in the sense of thinking they have everything under control, but the timing of everything and not having full understanding of what really is happening in Gaza, as long as you contain them in there, and this issue is going to continuously happening. We knew it was going to happen. I'm talking about on behalf of Israel, them saying that, we knew that these people are always going to do something, but, there's no way that they could plan something like this, and it happens. The IDF representative, I'm watching an interview with him, he was refusing to answer lots of questions in the sense of, like, how did this happen in the most surveilled place in the world? Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to this real quick. Yeah. So I was reading on certain blogs that were talking about this too, the operation. It's alleged right now that apparently the resistance got a hold of equipment that can actually jam their radar equipment. Yes, and that's why part of the functioning why the Iron Dome didn't really function as it should have.
I was going to ask about the Iron Dome next.
Yes. So is that I haven't verified it, but it's possible, and it's interesting because they were mentioning that they had met with Russia two weeks ago. So had they acquired some kind of equipment like this, it's possible. But
wait, who met with Russia 2 weeks ago?
Hamas leaders. But the question, though, to come down to what you're gonna, and I want Emad to respond to this, but to me it seems like, and I before he responds, I just want to read this one thing that was quoted by an Israeli journalist, and I think it sums up a lot of what's happening. This guy named Akiva Eldar, a columnist on the Israeli Daily Eretz, he says that the attack by Hamas should be a wake-up call for Israel. And he quotes, I quote, "You can't go out about normalizing relations with Arab countries while also trying to expand into Palestinian territories."
That's true.
The image of the status quo, that you, Israel, can keep Gaza under blockade, you can keep expanding the settlements, and the Palestinian will sit back and say, we approve your normalization with the Gulf countries as long as workers from Gaza can make some money, isn't going to work. And so what I think was happening, and part of this, and I want Emad to respond, is that they got comfortable saying, the Gulfs, they love us, we're making business, money's good, everything's good, that they think that the Palestinians become insignificant in this whole thing. But they didn't realize, they miscalculated that Palestinians are the center of it all. They're the big... Saudi was never a threat to you. UAE was never a threat to you. These weren't the countries that were threats to you. The threat to you is the population that you're oppressing inside right next to you. And that's what they lost focus on.
Ya Allah.
And fundamentally, the Iron Dome, for those who don't know about the Iron Dome, it's a missile defense system that is designed to intercept missiles or rockets that are coming into the Zionist entity, and the strategy was basically by Hamas to overwhelm the system by throwing so many missiles at it that it couldn't handle. and effectively, I understand why people want to look into this deep web of conspiracies. You know that one meme where this guy's like pointing everywhere with yarn and everything's connected.
Yeah.
It's not that that complicated. It's very simple. The reason why Israel doesn't want an attack like this is because it drives business away. It shows political instability. Businesses don't want to invest in your country when you have political instability, when the employees are going to be under threat. Nobody wants to invest in your country.
And tourism, right?
And tourism. So people don't want to go there. It fundamentally does not make sense for Israel to allow or green light Hamas. That would also indicate that the entire leadership of Hamas is completely compromised.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So that says that if you're saying that the Israelis
sabotage themselves
or wanted this to happen, that means the Hamas is already in their pockets, right? That's what that everything is orchestrated. It's that big black hand conspiracy theory there.
Right.
Everything is under the Jewish control.
Correct. Yes.
And there's nothing you can do.
Helpless.
One button and they can destroy us all. That's what one of my uncles would always say. Yeah, okay, you guys want to bring back the rise of Islam again? One button they press.
Samsung.
We're all dead.
The Samsung option. Yeah, they also no. But another thing is, so I some guy had told me, I was talking to him last night about this. Like, how do you think Israel will just allow this to happen? Blah blah. There's some kind of hand. Hamas is compromised, right? And I said, listen, if you go watch the videos, right? Let's just say you're right. I may be inclined to believe it if one thing didn't happen. When they stormed the Israeli base, they literally had F-16s there. If they would have moved that before this happened, that might have been giving an indication maybe, hey, they knew something was coming, right? But the fact that you let weaponry like the F-16 literally within minutes of being taken by people who are storming it, that's too much of a risk to allow to happen, right?
Yeah, not just that. Hamas has suffered lately.
Yeah.
For the last few years. Especially the people within Gaza have become to the point where they're saying they become accusative of the leadership of Hamas. Ismail Nahiyah's sons are in Europe with millions. Yeah. He's this, he's that. They've lost their drive for resistance. Mm-hmm. There has been a lot of this has actually repaired all that damage. Yes, you think Israel would want to repair all the damage that Hamas has suffered in the last few years with this thing here? Because this here didn't just repair the damage. This here shot it over the top. Of
Not only that, the people from the West Bank who are with Fatah are actually celebrating what happened.
Of course.
Oh, really?
In Nablus, they were running in the streets celebrating.
Hamas has a strong, quiet following that is obviously in the West Bank and other. Hebron used to be, Al Khalil used to be strong in it, and they've strayed off. And most of the damage that has been done to Hamas in the West Bank has been by the PA more than anyone else. They are the ones who have been imprisoning Palestinian resistance from religious groups, whether it's Hamas or Islamic Jihad.
So the way I look at it, there's two separate ideologies. The PA is hell-bent on trying to say we're peaceful. They want to exhaust all diplomatic options. And they're willing to go to the extreme point of even incarcerating other Palestinians to desperately show how peaceful they can be.
Yes.
And Hamas, the different idea. Well, listen, we're done talking. We've talked for many decades. There's no time for talking.
We're democratically elected.
And they say that, a Palestinian life is not cheaper than an Israeli life. And their idea is that if you're going to harm one Palestinian, we're going to harm an Israeli.
And not just that, PA, because it's a corrupt entity, is happy with what they have. Because they're living like kings. The only ones suffering are ordinary Palestinian people. So they're happy with being able to have their mansions, their fancy cars, their businesses, to be able to go to Tel Aviv and party with Israeli prostitutes and whatever else that they're doing, they're fine with it. As a matter of fact, they've given up. Abbas is so much as basically said that he's given up on Jerusalem and resistance in general.
They're just happy with Ramallah being
Exactly.
this nice little cush joint. You know, Israelis were coming to Ramallah and going to casinos and stuff and having fun times.
Yeah. People are building masajid, and these guys are building casinos.
Inna lillah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The issue is this: no matter where they go, what they do, who they make peace. I mean, you're making peace with Saudi and United Arab Emirates and all this stuff. Peace? What? You have to have a fight before you have peace. What fight have you people had? The United Arab Emirates hasn't launched a rock at Israel. The Saudis haven't launched a rock at Israel. So what peace are we talking about?
Yeah.
All these things are happening in order to try to drain and make the Palestinian issue illegitimate. Basically, and the Palestinian people illegitimate, and they don't exist, and it's not going to happen. Everything you do is going to fail, plain and simple. That's all there is to it. So what Hamas has just done has been a big thing, and Netanyahu and his likes and what the threats that they're spewing out of their mouths against Gaza and people. What is it? You've done plenty in 75 years, and you're still doing plenty. So what is it you're going to threaten us with more of what you already been doing?
Keep in mind, this problem also escalated because they were turning a blind eye to settlers that were illegal settlements, and they even they tried to mitigate by saying, you know what, this is wrong, pull them out, but they kept turning the blind eye. And there were open conversations with people saying, listen, a Palestinian woman saying, hey, you're taking my house. And the Jewish guy goes, American Jewish guy, it's not my problem. What do you mean? I didn't start this. It's not my problem. He's like, you know, you can't live here. And she goes, well, and then she goes, you know, well, it's my house. What do you mean it's not my problem? He's like, yeah, but if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. What do you want me to do about it?
She said, you're stealing my house. And he said, well, if I don't steal it, somebody else is going to steal it. And not only that, the guy is from New York, from Brooklyn, New York, and he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
He's hiding there because of pedophile charges here in the United States. There's a whole thing that was done. Most pedophiles run to Israel in the United States
because Jews won't prosecute other Jews.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
for them, the utmost importance is that's why they will trade 1,000 Palestinians for one Jew. Exactly. Not because they think that they're cheaper. No, because they look. For us, alhamdulillah, Muslims, we have children by the droves.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm not saying anybody wants to lose their children, but you know we can comfortably afford to have shuhada.
Yeah.
For them, one is equal to like 20,000 of us because they're so small in number. They can't afford to lose even one who's not even practicing. And even, he's just an average dude, but he's just the fact he calls himself a Jew is important to them for the numbers.
Yeah. And their belief is this. Their belief, many of them have always said, these Palestinians, in particular these Muslims, they have no problem with dying. They love dying. We love living. And this is where this sets us apart. And I'm not saying we want to die, but I'm just saying we're not in fear of dying to get to what's right. And they are. And, you know, like somebody said earlier, they were running like rats everywhere. And he said, this is the way you run when it's not your land. You know what I mean?
And I want to re-emphasize that point. It's not that we're afraid of dying. It's the fact that we know that in justice, we're not dying.
Of course not.
Right? Being a shaheed is not just dying.
No.
We know that even if I do perish in that, there's something greater for me.
Exactly.
They don't have that.
No, they don't.
Most of these secular poor Jews, they don't believe in anything. They think it's just hearsay. Even if you talk to some of the religious Jews, they say, "Oh, there's no mention of Jahannam or Jahannam."
They don't believe in heaven and hell.
They Ha-Olam, the world to come. They don't know what that means.
How do you pronounce it?
Ha-Olam, mean the world to come, the next world, right? They don't really believe that there's a specific Jannah or Nar. They don't have an idea. It's possible, they don't know. The Zohar, like the mysticism goes into those kinds of things, but technically speaking, like they don't have that concept. The Muslims have this. So what happens is when they look at this situation, right, they look at it like, okay, these people are principled. They are willing to give it because this is not everything for them. For them, This dunya is all that they have.
Exactly.
It's everything that they have.
Yeah, because they actually, like I said, they don't believe in heaven and hell. They don't believe in heaven and hell. And so I'd like to mention a little something about some of our biggest mistakes has been, I believe, is we tend to concentrate on the occupiers in Palestine, but we're not concentrating on the occupiers of Muslim lands by another group of people, and that's Iran. That's Iran, and we have to be really careful in how we deal with that. These are a people. If I just I listen to a sheikh regularly, and
العرب المسلمين مع إسرائيل راح تكتشفوا الشيعة يقاتلون مع اليهود. يعني الناس اللي بيظنوا إنه الشيعة بدها تحرر فلسطين راح يتفاجئوا زي ما تفاجئوا هلا، زي ما تفاجئوا في أفغانستان وتفاجئوا في العراق وتفاجئوا في سوريا وبتفاجئوا في اليمن وبتفاجئوا أو بتشوفوهم قديش بيعلنوا عن حقدهم. بيقاتلوا مين هم بيقاتلوا مين وصالحين. راح تكتشفوا وساعتها تدركوا قديش الأمة كانت مستغفلة انهم بيقاتلوا مع اليهود. اقول لكم وفي ناس قالوها. مين قالها؟ الطفيلي هذا من العلماء الشيعة اللبنانيين ومن الذين أنشأوا حزب الله. صبح الطفيلي موجود. هذا الرجل طبعا أقصي من حزب الله، يبدو خالفهم في أمور، بس من المنشئين لحزب الله. موجود له صورة في مقابلة مع تلفزيونية بقول أنا سامع منهم، هم ما هو شيعي وبيعرفهم، بيعرف حزب الله وكأنه محذرهم هو وغيره إنه طيب بكرة لما تستقر الأمور في سوريا والناس تتذكر قتلاها ومئات الألوف وأكثر اللي تقتل والشيعة اللي قتلوها، لا يكون راح يسكتوا على الشيعة في جنوب لبنان، راح يعيشوا الشيعة يعني بأمان. هذه مطروحة بينهم الآن، ولكن مطروح مقابلها نتحالف مع إسرائيل.
You know, to this point, and look, this is not about Persians here, right? And I've talked about this a lot. The state of Israel, I'm sorry, Iran, any place they have entered in the Muslim land has been bloodshed. Afghanistan, Lebanon, Yemen,
Iraq,
Syria, Iraq, you name it. Where they went to, it was bloodshed. And their position is that that regime in Iran believe that it is the only suitable power to run the Middle East. And anybody else, they're willing to take them down for that sake. Doesn't matter. And I'll be fair. The Saudis use Sunni Islam, they use Shia Islam. But the difference is that the political agenda is very different between both of them. Exactly. Saudi wants it for themselves. They want to be leaders of the Khalij. Not even the Arab world, the Khalij.
No, that's it.
Iran wants control of it all. They want everything from the Persian Sea to the Red Sea. They want to take it all in this area. They believe they're rightful heirs of this. And so whenever they get involved somewhere, they are willing. Actually, I'll give you a secret. You might want to write about this in your book. Just look up the Ofer brothers, the largest shipping company. Ofer brothers. In Israel, the largest shipping company in Israel, who's blacklisted in America, by the way, for transporting arms and stuff. They have a deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran shipping lines, which is owned by the government, and they've been docking in their ports and trading with them for decades. And yet, Iran wants to say that, we are condemning the Israelis. We want nothing to do with them. How dare the Saudis economically deal with them, and they do it themselves. Another thing. When they encourage Hezbollah to go and start a war, right, and destroy South Lebanon, Israel, they know Israel will rain down Hellcat on them. They know that. They know they're going to destroy that out there because Israel's strong point is the Air Force. They're not battle people. They don't walk in there with arms. They're good from the air, right? And they're never going to occupy Lebanon. They're going to bomb it and leave. Let me ask you, when was the last time, number one, Iran has been involved in any war outside of its border? Number two, when they fired a single bullet at Israel?
Never.
Single one. They will be happy to enter Syria and Iraq.
Yes.
They'll never enter Israel.
Never.
Why? Why is that? They'll send specialist commanders and brigades, and the Abu Fadl Abbas brigade, they'll send them anywhere. Send them anywhere into the land. Anywhere in the Muslim land, Yemen, they'll send them. Cargo ships coming from Bab al-Mandab, from Iran, they'll send them stuff there. But you'll never find that happening in Israel. Not one bullet. And guess who comes and rebuilds South Lebanon when it gets destroyed? Take a guess who built it. Saudi Arabia, the evil Wahhabi money.
Exactly.
They come and build it, and they condemn at the same time.
Exactly. And so I mean, that's the thing that we have to wake up from. And if you have your enemy, a terrible enemy, where fatwas Sistani has given to say that it is more permissible to murder and kill Sunnis before Christians and Jews. This is Sistani. This is from Iran also. You have to understand that these people are hell-bent on just their hatred for Sunni Muslims is unprecedented.
Habibi, we're not Sunnis, we're Bakris.
Yeah.
Bakri,
Yeah,
that's what they call it.
That's what they call us.
But real quick, if you can listen to the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah.
Is this recent?
Yeah, this is here. You listen to this. Hold on. كنا أصدقاء.
85 لل90 لل2000 لل2005 ولليوم لا نخفي هذه الصداقة ولا نخجل بها بل نؤمن بها وندعو كل اللبنانيين إلى تعزيزها وإلى توثيقها وهذا مصلحة للبنان أولا.
You see? He said, we've been أصدقاء, we've been friends with Israel before 82 and 82, 2006, even all the way to 2050. This is a friendship that is there to stay, and it is a good thing for the Lebanese people. So, these are the people you think are coming to liberate Palestine.
So
I just wanted to make sure that I touch on that a little bit, because it's important to know who your enemy is and stop being ridiculous with some of your beliefs, that it doesn't matter what they believe, it doesn't matter what we believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah as they do, and that's far from the truth. So we have to, I don't want to turn it into that discussion, but this is a reality that we have to understand. And like the things that happen in Syria also is it's a terrible thing, and Israel did not want the Free Syrian Army to win. Obviously, they asked an Israeli general who was overlooking Syria near the Golan and Julan, and he said that the reporter asked him, "Who would you rather have, Assad or would you have the Free Syrian Army, the rebels?" He said, "No, of course, Assad, because Assad will not, although he's our enemy, he's our less enemy. He will not allow a Syrian to throw. He will not allow a rock to be thrown over the border to us." Ariel Sharon, after the invasion of 1982, Ariel Sharon addressed the Knesset. I had the whole speech, and he said, "We should not harm," talking about Assad's father, "we should not harm him, because he is one who murders our enemies for us."
Yeah, look at Hama. What was he doing?
Hama, Tal al-Zatar. Yes.
I'll give you another example of where Iran fails. When the Syrian Sunnis were fighting for the revolution, they were happy to send in the weapons, right? I'm not lying to you. Every couple of weeks, Israel runs airstrikes on Syria. Today. Yeah. A few weeks ago, they did it. Does Iran feel the need to come into Syria and attack Israel?
No. Does Assad do it? They don't do any of it. It's all smoke and mirrors when it comes to these groups.
Yeah.
The Israelis and those particular Shiites. So you just have to be careful. But alhamdulillah, at the end of the day, I am comfortable. A small person living in Chicago, I am comfortable to say that there will come a day when Israel will cease to exist. Plain and simple. Amen. This is no more than a modern day crusade. And the crusades in the past were there for longer periods of time. People say they've been there 75 years. The crusades were there 500 years.
Dang.
Yeah, when the Crusades came, they murdered 70,000, and the last Crusade, 70,000 inhabitants inside the walls of the old city, where some areas, they said the blood would almost reach your kneecaps. So,
what would you say? And I know the response to this, but there's among Muslims, influential Muslims, scholars, and people of influence say, okay, well, what happened here? What was accomplished? You took out 200 of Israelis. Now they're going to kill 20,000 Palestinians. What did you accomplish?
It's what did we accomplished a whole lot. If you look, it's only to them. You know why? They have to criticize it. You know why they would have to criticize it? Because they've been talking against stuff like this and calling stuff like this to be a failure, and it wasn't a failure. So it actually is nullifying their words, nullifying what they have to say. The things you're saying we should do don't work, but the things we've done do work. And if you say that they're going to murder 20,000 Palestinians, that's okay. There's probably 20,000 Palestinian women pregnant and are going to give babies to 20,000 more Palestinians. Yeah. So we're not going anywhere. Plus, we never give up on our Muslim world, because the ordinary people in the Muslim world are there. They're not in agreement with what their governments do. Their governments are even more brutal than Israel. When they stood up in Syria, they butchered them. When they stood up in Egypt, they butchered them. See, Israel knows one thing. Who were the liberators of Palestine, the last few liberators of Palestine? Were they Palestinians?
No.
They weren't Palestinians. Umar ibn al-Khattab, what was he? He was Hijazi. Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. He wasn't even an Arab. He was a Kurd. Yeah. Okay? And he was from outside. This is why Israel needs instability around the Muslim world. Don't look just for Palestinians to liberate Palestine. Don't look for Palestinians to liberate Palestine. Don't count out the 2 billion Muslims. You kill 20,000 Palestinians, go ahead. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can destroy Masjid al-Aqsa and live there under a new building for 100 or 200 years. There's going to be a Muslim. Because Muslims are always looking towards that building. So when I say certain things about the Muslims have abandoned the fight for Palestine and pretending, that doesn't mean all generations to come. That doesn't mean everybody in the Muslim world. Here we are, we're different nationalities, but we're brothers. And we're talking about a subject that's thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. I don't know if your child or his child or his child or my child is going to have something to do with liberating the land of Palestine, because it is a land sacred to Muslims all around the world. A Palestinian does not have a right to say this is just my land. A Palestinian happens to be someone who was born in the area. Like I've met people, they say, you're born in Jerusalem. Oh, let me touch you. Touch me for what? Nothing. That doesn't make me holy. Somebody living in Cabrini Greens who's a Muslim is probably more holy than me. Yeah. So it doesn't mean anything. The issue is it's an open door for anybody to come in from the Muslim world to liberate this piece of land, like others who have come from outside that land to liberate that land.
Fundamentally, when you look at 20,000 or however many thousands of people that get killed as a result of this, you have to understand that this is a conflict.
Yes.
Now you can't fight for what you want without bloodshed.
Exactly.
And there's this idea among Muslims that certain Muslims, not all Muslims, certain influential Muslims that are popping up and calling for normalization with Israel. And the problem is that
those are weak people.
Well, but we have to give them a more substantive answer, because they think that because normalization means everyone is happy, and they don't understand the dynamics of Israel. Because if you when I talk to Western people about this conflict, I asked them, if we gave the West Bank, the entirety of the West Bank, Gaza, to the state of Israel, just said, hey, make us part of you. Do you think Israel would want that? No,
No,
they don't
of
want
course
that.
not.
Then they would be the minority.
Exactly.
They would be the minority. They don't want that. They
want that.
they
Yeah,
say
I mean,
that 20% or so are Arabs that are already in Israel. That's way too much for them already.
Exactly. And then the sad part about it is somehow, somewhere, we tend to forget what the definition of Zionism is. These people call themselves Zionists. They say their ideology is Zionism. And then our people, the people that on this side, they want to. How do you make peace with someone who's telling you what he wants? And that is to clear the land of anybody who is not Jewish, plain and or even Zionists. Even they're willing to clear their own Jews who don't believe in this Zionist ideology. They want pure Zionists, which is a secular, evil ideology. So you're talking about making peace with someone whose definition is from the river to the sea, from the Lebanese border to the Red Sea. This is them.
Yeah.
You're being unrealistic and you're foolish.
Interesting thing of people saying, look, everybody wants peace, right? But the peace, the way and I've heard Muslims say this before, it'd be great if everyone has got along and has been a part of the same state. The Jews or the Zionists don't want that. I'm just clarifying what you said, is because they wouldn't want that scenario. They don't want a two-part state, even though that has its own issues. They don't want to live in one state because they themselves are in fear of sharing the same state with the Palestinians, because then they're going to become the minority.
Exactly.
So they need to have a wall between them, and they need to have that separation, and then wither away with them to whatever pace that they want.
Their strategy,
what they wanna do-
their strategy is to suffocate them. Suffocate
Exactly.
them.
Yes.
They want to strangle them, make their lives so miserable that they leave to Jordan,
Exactly.
that they leave to Egypt, or they leave to the United States. Why do you think all these other countries are so willing to accept Palestinians? It's not because they're out of the goodness of their hearts.
Exactly.
So that's a great observation.
No,
This is
I-
a concerted strategy to extract as many Palestinians as they can from these lands and
as a contract with Israel.
That's what the
This
contract
was
was.
this was one of the original reasons why many of the Arab states originally, I'm not saying now, did not accept Palestinians as refugees, because they said, listen, if you leave your land, that's what they want to do. They want to force you out. And since what happened was, since they decided not to leave, what they decided the alternative is let's build these open air prisons. Let's place 100 checkpoints. Let's make it very difficult for any Muslim to come in and fly into Tel Aviv and visit Al-Aqsa.
See, and one of the chapters in my book is forced migration. Forced migration. And what I mean, why is it so easy for a Palestinian to come to the United States out of all people in the Middle East and Africa? Because they're helping them cleanse the land. We'll take them. You have to take them. Listen, I'm deported. After my prison sentence, they deported me. They took my green card and they deported me. But they can't remove me because I don't have a country. I was born in Jerusalem. So, when they took my green card, first I went through a big fight with them, because it was one of the most insulting things I've ever had to go through. You're gonna try to tell me what is a Palestinian? There is no Palestinian. So I went back to prison and I made a book for them, from their own books in the library, from their own biblical dictionaries, to show that Palestine existed. I had a fight. Now, my immigration fight wasn't about me being deported or not being deported, but about my identity. So when we went through that, and then I had to call my aunt back home and send my birth certificate, which was from Arabic to Hebrew and to English, to show that I was actually born in Jerusalem and not in Jordan, because they kept trying to accuse me of being a Jordanian. Even though I came through Palestine, I never entered Jordan. I've never been anywhere outside of Palestine but this place. So I went through this fight with them, and they finally shut up. So they took my green card, and they said, you're going to get deported. I said, okay, cool. They tried the Jordanian embassy. The Jordanian, a young man in D.C., told them, listen, we don't mind taking him, but we're not going to take him because he has a land. And if we were to take him, we would be helping in the cleansing of his land. He is a Palestinian, and his land is Palestine. He was born in Jerusalem. You see his birth certificate. He talked to my mom directly on the phone. My mom called him. So then they tried Israel, and of course, Israel never answers the letter. They know this. The INS agent told me, he said, you'll be out in a few months because Israel never answers the letters. So as I was going through the process out here, I went to the INS, gave my case and other cases to GS4, that security company.
Yeah.
And this lady named Catherine tried to make my life miserable. A living hell. Every day she would mess with me. I'm under supervision to this day for the immigration. To this day, I can't get Muslims to help me. No organizations that has attorneys. I'm like, look, do the paperwork. I will sue these people. I don't need you to take it to court. If you're scared with these people, and they are, most of them scared, you draw it up for me. I'm going to go and file it in federal court. Me, myself. But just help me formulate it into legal terms. I want to sue these people. One, how do you deport me back to my land and at the same time give people more money to take more of my land, imprison more of my people, and you say you don't recognize me as a person of a Palestinian identity because Palestine did not exist? I can't get any help. Anyway, they deported me. So this woman, Catherine, she's a white woman. She's trying to, play Humphrey Bogart with me. And and she, yell at me. I said, wait a minute, who are you talking to? Who are you yelling at like that? She said, I'm going to talk to the judge and send you back when you go to court. And I said, lady, I think you better get hipped. I'm not in court. I finished my court in 2004. We are right now in like 2009. I said, and you threatening me with jail. I did 13 years in federal prison. You think you threatening me to send me to jail for a day or two or a month or two, that means anything to me? She says, I want you to go to the Israel. This is what the whole argument was about. She wants me to go to the Israeli embassy in downtown to ask them to let me go back home. I said, ma'am, do you understand that you are asking me to go to my enemy and plead with my enemy? She said, no, you have to go. I said, well, can you go with me so you could get humiliated with me? She said, no, you have to go. That's a part of your contract when you were released. I said, okay. I went downtown.
Oh, snap.
I walked downstairs, and there's a guy in a little booth who is a guard. And I'm looking around, and he said, can I help you? I said, yeah, where's the Israeli embassy? He said, why? Where are you from? I said, I'm a Palestinian. He said, you can't go up there. I said, well, I don't know. This lady sent me here, so I'm here. He said, let me call him for you. So he calls a guy, and a guy gets on the phone. He said, yeah. So I start talking to explaining, listen, man, there's a lady from INS. She's sending me over here to talk to you about letting me back into Palestine. I told her, you're my enemy, and I'm your enemy. And he says, you're right. I said, she's telling me. And he told me, you go tell her this. Mind your own effing business. You stupid B. You know the rest. Tell her that I said, go talk to the INS agent, the real INS agent, and he'll explain the situation to her. Do you know she was fired in a month?
No.
I went back a month later to see her, and I said, yeah, is Catherine here? She said, oh, she's no longer here. She's been terminated.
Yes.
So they probably got in touch with, who are you sending Palestinians over here to ask us to we don't want them to go back home. You got your agents, these people who work with your agents. She was gone in a month after that incident.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you know what the crazy part is? That they don't even realize how Israelis truly feel about Americans.
Oh, they despise them.
Like
They
dumb
hate them.
pawns.
And even Christians too. Did you see? I saw a video of a bunch of Christians carrying a cross.
They spit on them.
through the
Yeah.
and I saw
Those
the
are
Israelis.
Asian.
The Israelis
Asian
are spitting on them.
Yes.
Yeah,
They're
this is
spitting. The
recent.
children are
This
spitting
is a
at
couple
them.
weeks ago. So what they do is they go to the Holy Church of the Sepulchre. They go there. Many Orthodox Christians, not even evangelicals, don't believe this stuff. Yeah. The Orthodox ones will go in. They celebrate these things. They have feasts and different things like that. But settlers, who are, by the way, Americans, a lot of them.
Americans, most of them are.
When they're there, they boast and they start spitting on them. We killed your God. They send their kids. They mock them. They make fun of them, and they spit on them. And here's the worst part: the Orthodox Christians are just they hate this, right? some of them, just like, well, we can't do anything about it. But the evangelicals will say, well, that's the way that Christ walked. He was supposed to be abused. His kingdom is not of this world. He's supposed to love the Jews.
Imagine if Muslims did that. Imagine if Muslims did that to Christians in Jerusalem. They would blast it everywhere.
We need a crusade. Like that's what they say.
What a bunch of shit.
Yeah, they give you a coward's explanation of why they're not standing up for it. Jesus walked like this. No, Jesus went and traded all his belongings for a sword. What did he need the sword for? To shave his beard? You don't need a sword. He traded all his belongings and his disciples'
brother, you don't
belongings.
know the way they make the hadith of the Bible. They say, no, the sword here means the Bible, the sword of truth.
Yeah,
That's what they say. Yeah.
No, dude, this is really, really crazy. This is there's too much going on, bro. There's too much,
Alhamdulillah,
too
they're
much
gonna be
happening.
gone. They're gonna
There's
be
too
gone.
much happening.
It may not be in my lifetime. Inshallah, it's in my
Catherine,
When
we're
I
gonna
see-
send you a card. We feel bad for you now.
When I see these groups, I always remember the ayah in the Quran that says, وَقُلُوبُهُمْ شَتَّى. They may seem like they're all organized,
they're not.
but inside they hate
Absolutely.
each other worse than they hate us.
Exactly.
They hate, and the why that's beautiful is because something that's built on hate is never gonna last.
It's never and evil.
No, not just hate. It's lies.
Yeah.
It's lies because
Deception,
what they came to an agreement on is a set of lies, and that lie that they all cover up among each other. They try to like all add on to that lie because they know in their deepest parts of their heart that it's a complete lie, and that they know that the Son of God is a lie. They know that the Jews know that their rejection of the various prophets that came. All of these are things that they've historical lies. They've built their entire psychology on lies, and it's fascinating when you talk or see some documentaries. I know who's that one girl, man? That she's
Abby Martin.
Abby Martin.
Abby Martin, Empire Files.
When she goes into Israel, the Zionist entity, who and you talk to these people, they're taught from an early age. They're literally brainwashed.
Yes. That's the whole idea. That's how they
can't escape. Their mind is fixated in their existence and that they are the rightful owners of this land.
Yes. And every Palestinian,
not only
every
that.
Muslim wants to murder them.
Yeah, exactly.
Kill
Every
them and
single
hurt
Arab
them.
wants to murder us.
Yeah,
and
those
also
are
they're
savages
they're
and-
subhuman. This is something that what's his name? Not Golda Meir. Who was the one before him? Before her?
Ben Gurion.
Ben Gurion. He was the one that was saying, yeah, Arabs are subhumans.
Yeah.
You can never trust them.
Yes.
They're subhuman. And the funny part is he actually references.
I don't know if last time I talked about my federal case.
Yeah.
Did a little bit. I think.
Okay, why don't you start it off with that? We're about to reconnect.
Yeah.
Should be.
But I do want to mention we didn't get the part about the Palestinian Talmud. And
Yeah, why don't you finish that thought?
Yeah.
That you,
Are we on?
just a second. Let's see here.
Yeah, I checked it. Comcast is down, actually.
Yeah, I know. I connected it to my phone.
Okay.
My phone's internet.
But is it going to be able to handle the upload?
It should.
Hotspot, yeah, 5G, LTE, of course. It should be good enough.
You can get like 10 upload speed on your phone?
Pretty good. But we'll see.
Well, I guess we won't be HD for the rest of it, but that's fine. Oh, wow. You're going to have to edit all this conversation out of the audio, aren't you?
No. It just.
No, I mean from the audio format, right?
I pulled the audio from the actual video.
Oh, okay. Got you. Perfect. Never mind.
Come on, dude. Are you guys able to see us? Can you guys hear us? All right, I think we're back.
I don't see it moving on my phone.
Because I see Emad online. All right, yeah.
Okay. I still see my screen stuck as me.
Can you guys? Okay, they can see us. Yeah, they can hear us.
Okay. I don't know why my screen is stuck. But
So what we're talking about this thing with the Talmud, that when you see them behaving the way they do and you can't understand and you look into the Torah, where in the Torah we get them say and do the things they do, it's not in the Torah. Where is it that they say the things about Jesus and his mother, they're not in the Torah? Where do they get these ideas from? They are from the Talmud. So the Talmud, now you have a Talmud that's called the Babylonian Talmud, as we were talking with the brother, and you have another one called the Jerusalem Talmud. The dilemma here is the Jerusalem Talmud is actually a new name, a new description of that Talmud. The original name of the Talmud is called the Palestinian Talmud. And here, this is from Yale University Library for Judaic Text. And it says, the contents of the Palestinian Talmud were written by Palestinian scholars between the 3rd century AD and the beginning of the 5th century. Those of the Babylonian Talmud by scholars who wrote between the 3rd century and the beginning of the 6th century. So it was called the Palestinian Talmud, but how do you say there is no Palestine, there is no Palestinians, but you're following a set of books that's called the Palestinian Talmud? It would be shooting yourself in the
Hence
in
shifted
the head.
to Jerusalem
You know what the
Talmud.
bigger shocker? They
Yes.
say if you look at Goldamir's birth certificate, it says Palestine.
Of course. And she said, I'm a Palestinian. In the same breath, she says there is no Palestinians.
But
In
she
the
is a
same breath.
Palestinian.
It's all, I talk about it in my book about her. That's where the transplanted information is. But that's some of the stuff that we have to deal with. The bottom line is, it's a foundation standing on sand, and sand can't hold. And it's going to shift and it's going to move. And this is some of the beginning of the end of the Zionist entity. To say they've been there 75 years, the Crusades were there at times for 500 years and have done much worse. So there's a day for them to end and be gone.
Yeah, dude. And just before we get into the federal issue that you were referring to, look, Sim, you said something profound, and that had to do with lies, right? Islam has always been about reality and the truth, no matter what the consequences are for truth. Those consequences are going to be met, and a part of being a human being is blood will be shed because of the truth, and some of that has to do with being tested by Allah of how much you believe in what is right and wrong. What is right and what is correct is what the test of this world is. One of the names of Allah is Al-Haq, the truth. Allah is the ultimate objective truth. In order to please the only objective truth of this world is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the process of doing that, there's going to be a lot of turmoil, and Allah tells us there's going to be a lot of turmoil because of that. Now, when you have something historically which is built on the opposite of truth, which is lies, and historical lies is what we called it, and up until now, there's so many millions of lies that had to satiate the hunger of that big lie. That's where we are today now, where you have so many lies, it's almost impossible. It is impossible for most people to know what reality is and what is not reality because of the original lies itself, right? And sorry, you were going to say something, but
No, I do want to say this, and to touch on what you're talking about, Islam, so people get a little bit of understanding, and they say, and one of my biggest problems was, why would God make Judaism, Christianity, and Islam? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So people could be at each other's throats, and this was one of the things that, as a layman, as an ignorant person, I used as an excuse to say, this makes no sense, this whole religious thing, as an atheist. Except the bad part about it is, if you do a little bit of studying and you go to Moses and what Moses taught, the name of that religion is called Judaism. Judaism is derived from a name called, an individual named Judah, who was the head of the tribe of Judea, who was nicknamed Jew. So the religion is named Judaism, Judah. It's named after an individual. So Moses never knew it. You'll never find anything to say that this religion, this message is called Judaism. But if you look at Moses and his teachings, it was the 10 Commandments, your God is one God, worship thy Lord, and so on and so on. So in essence, Moses taught Islam because he taught submission to God physically and spiritually. And then if you go to Jesus, when the rich Jew came to Jesus and said, good master, how do I attain eternal life? Meaning, how do I go to paradise, to heaven? He said, he gave him what? Your Lord is one Lord, worship thy Lord, be good to thy neighbor, blah, blah, blah. He gave him the 10 Commandments. So basically, Jesus never understood this thing. He never called himself a Christian. There's nothing in there to say he's a Christian. So the religion is named after him by later generations. In his time, the Jews, to taunt his followers, would call them Christians, meaning you're worshiping Christ. It was an insult to his followers at the time. So what did Jesus teach them other than total submission to God? Again, Islam. And Islam is a religion that is not named after anyone. It simply means one who submits his will to God. Physically, by being clean when you approach prayer, being clean all day long, and worshiping God in understanding that he is only one and there's nothing like him, or there he does not share in his divinity. So basically, it's always been Islam. And but back to my federal case, you want to talk about that. I mean, a person who was found guilty with a deaf juror found me guilty. Not only that, the only witness on the case was one man with no tapes, no drugs, no surveillance, no DEA 6s, meaning police reports, where they admit they've never heard of me till the day I was arrested. And then prove that this guy understand, never talked to me, never saw me, because he was in Cook County Jail for his whole testimony, with documents to prove he's lying, and I still was found guilty. I had a Jewish judge and 3 Jewish prosecutors. I went to the appellate court. I had 3 Jewish judges on my appellate court. And I did 13 years in prison for that. And I have a deportation to a country that they continuously give my land. They give them billions to keep my land. They give them billions to build on my land. They give them billions to murder and exile my people. And you're telling me you're deporting me there. You are committing bigger crimes than what you accused me of. And you're deporting me? And I got to sit here and renew my license once a year, every year? I got to report to you once a year? I can't do anything. If you don't send me my work permit, I'm out of a job. You've already cost me my job 2 times because you're late on sending me my work permit. And I can't get Muslims to help me file something in court. Just help me put it in legal terms, and I'll file a lawsuit against these people like an Irish American was doing for Palestinians, but no Palestinian lawyer is doing it.
So what do you actually, as far as putting in the work, what actually needs to be done?
I just need somebody to help me file something, do something in court that can say, listen, how can you deport this guy when you still aid Israel to take more of his homeland? His house and his grandparents' house were taken in 1980 by people you support. He has no home there, but yet you're holding him here in bondage, that if he don't get his work permit card, he's stuck. He can't work, he can't get insurance, he can't get nothing. So I'm constantly, since 2004 to now, living under this pressure and constant fear if I get my work permit card or I don't get my work permit card.
And are they saying that you have to have an immigration attorney? What type of attorney?
Well, no, I don't need an immigrant. I just need a civil attorney to help me file a lawsuit against these people so I could bring something against them to say, get off my back. You are causing an injustice to me. A furtherance of injustice. You've already helped these people take my land. What was the purpose of me and my family coming to this land? If you hadn't been helping Israel to take my land and imprison my father and my grandfather and my uncle, my dad could have raised his children. You think we would have left Palestine? We're not those people who left Palestine so we come to the United States and make money. We left because you left my father no choice. Of constant imprisonment and constant torture where he can't even raise his kids. And then you took our houses in Sheikh Jarrah in 1980 and completed it in 1982. So it's just, naturally as a Muslim, as a Palestinian, it's in you to fight the fight. And this is just another part of the fight. This is an injustice that has to be fought. Unfortunately, I'm not an attorney to put it together in paper and send it in. And I've tried CARE. I've tried almost every organization. And a lot of these organizations, they just want to do what they want to do for you. They want to fill out applications. I could do the application myself. It's self-explanatory. Put your name, your number, things like that. What I need you for that? So basically, they're scared to lose their funding, nonprofit organizations, by standing up with a Palestinian. But I'm saying to them, put it together, I'll file it. You don't have to take no heat for it. I'll file it. And when you feel safe and you think it's safe enough for you to try to aid and assist me, then so be it. Alhamdulillah, you know.
We'll get you in touch with Hassan Shibli.
Yeah,
Hassan
inshallah.
Shibli takes care of these type of issues.
Yeah.
He knows, at least, even if he can't for whatever reason, he knows people who will get you.
Inshallah.
Hassan going to be listening. It's like, man, Sim just name dropped me now. I got to do something.
I'm telling you, to me, it's, I want to fight this fight because it's a part of the injustice. It's a part, see, it's, they're doing their fight down there. I need to do my fight up here. My fight is this. This is the least that I could do. I'm not a writer. I've never written anything in my life. I failed grammar school. I never went to high school. But this is my small contribution for Palestine, for Islam, these things here. So that's the thing. It's natural for us to stand up and fight. And this life is about one fight after the other. And hopefully there are fights where you're able to sustain yourself and make a change. And that's what it's all about. And hopefully, inshallah, one day it can go that way. It's just, you know.
So yeah, anybody listening to this, get some
listeners,
connections, please.
Yeah.
You heard in a nutshell what the brother's looking for, what he needs.
And
Let's see
support
where
our
we can help.
brother's books.
Yeah.
Imad, more, can you raise them up?
Yeah. More importantly, let me just explain. This is the two books. This is my life story, The Jerusalem Gangster. Again, it's not glorifying gangsterism or anything like that. It's just, but we lived the life of a gangster, and that's what it is. And gangsters come like everything else in all different shapes and sizes, and it could be a lot of things. And this is my other book, My Land Palestine. After starting a TikTok account a few times, and being deleted by TikTok for violating community standards with no profanities, no threats, no nothing. A brother advised me that some of the stuff he heard was so good that I should put a book together. And this is so my contribution for Palestine, Palestinians and Muslims alike. So I only make probably $1 or $2 on the books. The thing with the guy like me is it's very important, the reviews after reading them, not before, after reading them. Somebody to say something good about me, a person who was really, people were taking bets probably in the summertime. I'll bet you $20 he'll be dead by the end of the summer. Or I'll bet you $20 he'll be in jail by the end of the summer. Or I'll bet you $20 he's going to kill somebody and go to jail for life soon. From that guy to this guy. Alhamdulillah.
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 Wow.
So when you hear someone say something good about you, some of the reviews I see, they're humbling, man. And people to just look at me where I'm able to speak in universities right now. I speak for Professor Charles Bell in Illinois State University, and his students are going to be police officers and lawyers and things like that. From that guy to this guy, where I've addressed the Senate state representatives here in downtown Chicago on gun violence. From that guy to this guy. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. From that guy to this guy, sitting here among you brothers and being able to get on a podcast and talk and express myself, and be able to debate and say things where people would be surprised. What, this guy? You know, like that guy said, the brother watched the Eddie from the Deen show, and this is how he found me on Facebook. He lived upstairs from me. He was just a little kid, so he knew me when I was 14, 15, 16. And he said, man, I saw you on Eddie, and I was shocked because I know. He even commented on the last video we did. If you look at the comments, he's in there. Yeah. His name is Ahmed. He said, man, you were the last person I ever thought Allah would guide.
Allahu Akbar.
He was shocked. He found me on Facebook. So from that guy to this guy, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Dang, bro, this was a great learning podcast, man. This was it doesn't mean it's going to end right now. I'm just saying this was I just realized how much reading and research I have to do.
Emad, you want to talk a bit about what your life
job?
is like? Yeah, what you're doing right now. I know because when you talk about it, I kind of pause you because I want to hear about it on the show.
Yes,
because it sounds so amazing and heroic what you do.
Well, what I do here's the thing. We've ran businesses, and since I've been out of federal prison in 2004, I found there was a organization called Ceasefire. So some of the Muslims I know worked with Ceasefire on 63rd Street. So I volunteered off and on with them. I've always done outreach, even on one-on-one. But in 2019, when I wrote my book, I went. I had a trucking company at the time. I had 5 trucks running, 5 drivers. I was making good money. My wife filed for a divorce. And it had to do with financial issues, but we don't want to talk about who's the bad person, who's the right person. Anyway, she filed for a divorce. So when I wrote my book, I said, that's it. I'm tired of working and you build yourself and somebody else breaks you. And it's an up and down battle. You know what I mean? So I said, this is my book, and this is now I'm going to do strictly get involved in this gang prevention, violence prevention field, outreach, victim advocacy. So I started working for an organization called SWAP. I didn't stay there too long. But what I do now, I went to an organization called ACLIVIS. ACLIVIS has a division. One part of it is called hospital responders. What happens is when someone is shot, stabbed, or beat up, I'm assigned to Mount Sinai Hospital, which is on Ogden in California.
I know where it is.
Very hot area. So we get East Garfield, West Garfield, Humble
That's
Park,
Southside.
Little Village, North Lawndale, Lower West Side, all the shooting, stabbings.
These are all the roughest parts of Chicago.
Yeah, these are
Southside, yeah,
for
Southside.
the listeners who don't know, these
This
are
is the Chirac.
the most. This is what you hear about in the news
Yeah.
related to Chicago.
So,
So-
south and the west side of the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When a guy is shot, I come into the ER. They call us right away. Drive from the house to the ER. If the guy is not expired, he's still alive, and I'm able to speak to him. I try to find out if he's working. If he's, a lot of people think somebody's shot, so that's it. He's gone. You have people shot 12, 10 times, and they're sitting there talking to you just like this. I had a guy shot. I shouldn't say what, but anyway, he was a Latino from a Latino gang in Little Village. He was shot 23 times, didn't require an operation, no broken bones.
Wow.
All the bullets went through all flesh. Not one broken bone, not one injured vital organ or
Qadar
anything.
Allah.
Didn't have to cut him or anything. He just had flesh wounds. So he went straight up to
That's with a Mac 10, by the way.
yeah,
Mac
so,
10s are completely inaccurate.
he was on a bike. He got shot. He fell off the bike. The guy ran up over him and was shooting at him like this. And every shot went through the skin or flesh.
Man, if that doesn't make you a believer,
Yeah.
Wow.
So this was a young guy. So there's people I'm able to talk to right then and there. I find out if they're working, how far they went in school, if they're willing to go back to school, if they want a job,
Wait, aren't they aren't they hesitant to talk to you? Because usually,
they are hesitant sometimes, but as soon as they hear my lingo, as soon as I come in, like, hey man, I work with an organization called ACLIVIS. We work in conjunction with Mount Sinai Hospital. Let me just let you know this: I don't work with the police. I have nothing to do with the police. We're not crime solvers. We're crime preventers. I come from the streets. As soon as I start my spiel, I come from the back of the yards. I've been to 11th and Hamilton, which is juvenile. I've been to the county. I've been to the state. I've been to the feds. I went through the whole circuit. There's no more for me to go. So when they hear all that stuff, they say, oh, so you understand where I'm coming from.
Wait, so the point of this is to get them in that moment where they're feeling like, oh,
Exactly.
damn, life is is bad right now. You try to
Exactly.
get them in that moment and say, hey, listen, how do I help you prevent going south from here?
Exactly. How do we help? And does it work most of the time? Who knows? But it definitely, if 10 people you save and help one person or 2 people, you've done a lot. But it's a fulfilling occupation.
Because a lot of it's for you. When
yes,
you go there and have talked to that person with those wounds,
yes,
that's
and
for
when,
you too.
When people and I also talk for a doctor, to his psychologist. They're intern psychologists. I just spoke to them probably about a month ago, and they're amazed by some of the stuff. Professor Charles Bell in Illinois State University, he sent me the comments by his students where they say, hey, look, this guy and guys like this guy, we learn more from them than these books you give us. That's the life experience. So that's what I do as far as that job. So most of my life now is consumed by dealing with social issues. I'm back in university, and hopefully, inshallah, by next semester it was supposed to be this semester, have my bachelor's degree in urban studies. Inshallah.
Wow.
So these are some of the things. That's what I do. That's what's fulfilling for me. I don't think I've ever been happier in my life than at this point where I am.
Do you get a chance to
Allahumma
give them the dawah or anything? Like, do you ever establish?
You know what? I slightly, because you have to. These are people. Some of them are Muslims. They're already Muslims.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're already Muslims because they've been to the joint, and Islam is big. Like I said to somebody on that video I sent you, I don't know if you looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the guys said, I said, Sud allamuni al-Islam fi sijan. Black people taught me my religion in prison. Some clown made a comment talking about Shuf bul Sud allamuni al-Islam. This shows how ignorant we really are. If he would go to jail, that would be his protectors.
Yep.
That was a gang member. So I didn't need much protection. People respected me because I know the lingo, I know the streets, I know how to deal in these situations. I've been in prison since I was 14 years old. I was in a prison back home, basically. That's what Palestinians live in. But you saying things like that, if you would have went to jail and made a mistake and went to jail, that would be your protectors. To make a comment like that. And that's why I say, we need a lot of help, man.
Yeah.
And the situation we find ourselves in is by our own doing. By our own doing. I sit and watch social media and TikTok, and I watch my own people. There are non-Arabs, non-Muslim, non-Palestinians on social media continuously fighting for Palestinian issues and continuously fighting posting regularly all day long. While I look at my people, a lot of my people, not all of them, a lot of them are posting about the knafe they ate for
and
today.
They're doing stupid battles
and
on
they're
TikTok.
doing stupid battles on TikTok, and they're arguing about retarded stuff. When you do something positive, and I'm talking to a guy and I'm saying, my name is this and my name is that, and I've been to prison, and one guy says, فضحاله in 5 minutes. Meaning he embarrassed himself in 5 minutes. He disgraced himself in 5 minutes. I said, you've disgraced yourself with this comment. If we disgrace ourselves because we say the things we do, then why do we read the stories about Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anh before Islam? Why do we say Umar disgraced himself because he went to attempt and kill Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? I've never done nothing like that, but we talk about somebody like that in order to learn from these things. Umar ibn al-Khattab was burying his daughter. He said that one of the things he can't forget his whole life after Islam is him burying his daughter alive, and she was squeezing his finger. She was squeezing his finger. He drank. So this is what somebody says, because these people are people of kibr.
You know what this is? This
Yes,
is that
okay.
aib culture.
Exactly.
They're more worried about the aib, about what people
Exactly.
see,
Shame.
about the shame
Yes.
to themselves than the shame they have in front of Allah.
Exactly.
This is really what it is. Like
Yes.
actually, you know what? And here's the sad part. When you're living a life and you got the money, I was, what a great guy, he's a great businessman. He's living a life. He's so smart. He's good. And the minute he gets caught, we knew he was like that.
Yeah, he was.
oh my God, how shameful.
Yes.
Oh my God, he disrespected his whole family, right? But this is how it is.
Even as sad as this may be to say, even the masajid have become now that they honor the guys with the most money.
Bro, we know who they are, bro. They
most.
come to the masjid and the imam comes and gives them precedence over everybody else.
Exactly.
He knows he's selling liquor on 10 days a week.
Exactly.
I mean, we know
but
that.
he's
We
given
know.
up. He's given up donations. He's given up donations. And this is how bad it's gotten. So when a guy like me comes up and says these things, it's a joke to them. It's embarrassing to them.
Because that's a moneymaker for them.
But once upon a time, a guy like that wouldn't dare say nothing like that if he knew me in person. He wouldn't dare say nothing. And I'm not Jolly the Green Giant. You see him, I'm 5'4". I'm not Jolly the Green Giant. So but you can sit and clown because that's the way you live your lives. You do nothing for Palestine. You do nothing for Islam at whatsoever. And you want to sit around. You think the things that you own, the things that you have. You know how many Palestinian families I've seen vanquished, gone, who were had tons of money in stores back in the 70s, gone. Unbelievable how their end came. Stroke in a nursing home. 2 kids, 1 in jail, 1 dead.
You know
from
what the worst
drug
part
game.
about that is? Not about the money.
Yeah.
What the sad part that I'm seeing now is too that our generation, the children are not Muslim anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
Listen,
worst. That's the biggest tragedy.
You want me to
tragedy
you want me to give you a
have.
story?
Yes.
So I take my daughter. Once, of course, Islam is everything, and I'm not the best of Muslims, alhamdulillah, but I know Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I've created mankind and I've sent down with him 1% of my mercy. And what was the rest? And he says, I hold 99% of my mercy for them, for my ibadah, and the end of the day of judgment, to forgive them. 99%. All these things we have is only 1% of his mercy. So I teach my daughter this, and I found this to be that this is some of the problem. I told my daughter one day, I've been sending her to a Muslim school since she was 3 years old, as soon as I could. So I said, Mom, do you know those little kids in your class? All you tell me their names, Hamza, this and that. She said, yeah. I said, who are those kids? And she said, oh, they're my friends, Dad. I said, no, they're your friends, but they're something more than your friends. And she said, what? I said, they're your brothers and sisters. Even though their moms and dads might not like what I'm saying, according to Allah and His Messenger, those are your brothers and sisters. And if we would teach our kids that, they wouldn't think that they're strangers from each other and do things to hurt each other down the line in business deals. So this
Taking the big picture, brother.
This is the reality of the situation. So I always, when her friends, I love all Muslim kids. I'm crazy about Muslim kids. I love all kids, but I mean Muslim kids I'm crazy about, because those are that's what's coming up. So show you how deranged some of these people with their kids are. I say she's on the phone with her friend. I always say, who's you on the phone with? Oh, Ghufran. Assalamu alaikum, Ghufran. She's Yemeni. MashaAllah. She, wa alaikum assalam. Oh, you guys are so beautiful. Things like that. One of her friends is a Palestinian from a village that my grandmother comes from. And I say, Salamu alaikum, so-and-so. Not a word. Salamu alaikum. I don't say Salamu alaikum to strangers.
Whoa.
But her family is busy. She knows what cars are selling for on her uncle and father's lots. She said, oh, these vehicles are going for, my daughter says, what's her name, says that this car is going for 50K. 50K, that's what she uses, K. 30K, 40K. But she is not taught that she answers a Muslim with Assalamu alaikum. She looks at it as a Western way. You don't say hi to strangers, because Assalamu alaikum is just another word for saying hi.
They don't realize that the wajib is the right to say that back to somebody.
Exactly. Because they teach their kids that their kids are separate from the Muslim community. And the Muslim community is separate from them.
But you know what's going to happen? When
the masajid have become a place for gossip. And soon as you exit the masjid, it's no different than a church. You go to church on Sunday, hey brother, how are you brother? How's everything brother? Once you exit the church, get in your car, take off, out of sight, out of mind. That's not the idea of Islam. That's not the idea of Islam.
You know what's crazy though? When this person's or family's daughter grows up and decides that, you know what, I'm going to marry a John, and religion's not that important to me, right? At that moment, they're going to come and say, hey man, what do I do? She's doing this. What do I do?
Exactly.
Your time is gone, bro.
I went to the masjid. I don't know if I talked about it last time. I went to the masjid and I saw that I'm listening to the news and I talk show. There was a Palestinian kid killed and some time back, and for some time. So I went to the masjid, just trying to be, I dealt with at-risk youth for 3 years before I got out of federal prison. I was on a panel where my boss, Frank Calabrese, sat next to me.
Oh, wow.
From the family secrets trial. And and on this side was a professor from Michigan State University who was Jewish. He was a law professor who taught at Michigan State University, but got into smoking crack from a young girl and started robbing banks. So we would deal with these at-risk youth. So I figured when I get out, I may go help the community. I went to the masjid. To this day, I went to another meeting. When they hear my story, brother, we need to see you. We need to meet with you. We need to have you. I never get a call. Then early on, they told me, they said, well, we don't know. The parents might not want to expose them to this. The parents might not want to expose them to this. They sell marijuana outside the masjid doors after Salat al-Jum'ah. Some of them, not all of, but a few.
It happens.
And not only that, a few of them helped two stepchildren of Polish people murder their own family. They had a gang that they would rob houses when Palestinians went to weddings. You don't want to expose them to this. So this is some of the stuff, man.
I'm going to speak something that's true, at least in my own life.
Yeah.
My parents sent me to a Muslim school to try to protect me from stuff like that, right? But the first place I was exposed to things that were haram were other Muslims.
Yeah.
From everything from women to drugs to all that stuff was Muslim kids who were supposed to be in a Muslim environment. This notion that, oh, my kids don't do that. And this is this is 30 years ago. It's only 30 times worse now. Just multiply 10 times every year. It's worse. Yes. And if school ain't the place, they're definitely finding it on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all other places. It's all on their phones now. They're spending hours upon hours watching degenerates on this stuff and learning from their behavior. Yeah. And you think that your child is not part of it, you're delusional.
No. Yeah.
And that's how you end up, to be honest, by not acknowledging the problem is how you do a disservice to your family.
And look, I've written 2 books about my life and both deal with Palestine and Islam. Has there any of them, even the masajid, I went to the masjid and I gave them a copy of my book. Any of them said, come here as a non-profit organ. Let me talk. Let's purchase 10 of them and give them to the community and give you a review. No support. If this book, and may Allah forbid I was a Zionist and I wrote a book for Israel against Palestine, it'd be all over the billboards. Not by me, by Zionist entities. Yeah. But our own people don't support anything. Nothing. And as soon as something like this breaks and we show us to be something strong, like this last situation with Hamas, now you'll see all of them driving down the street in their Lamborghinis and G-Wagons and Range Rovers with Palestinian flags and speeding and blowing lights and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Doing
I pick up my daughter from school. Do you know that the street is one way going north, they come down south? Do you know that they cut the line to get in front of you to be able to pick up their kids, and it's ran off a system of, electronic system where you punch the thing and it tells basically where in line you are? You let them turn in front of you, say, instead of saying thank you, they don't say anything, they don't even acknowledge you. The women curse you out, some of them, if you say anything to them like they're men. These are some issues we have to deal with here, and this is why we find ourselves in the situation that we find ourselves in.
I was telling these guys earlier, man. You want to see the reason why Muslims fail? Just go to a masjid on Jummah, bro. People parking this way, that way. After they own the building, they want to talk about this, do that, and you can see in the behavior.
The imam can say 1,000 times, "Do not come out. This is not an exit. This is an entrance." The same day they come right out the same thing, and block all traffic. Man. Don't get me.
And these are the same people. An emergency will happen. The ambulance can't get in. Oh, the mess is so chaotic. No one respects rules. And they're the same guy double parking.
The same guy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oy.
Anyways.
And Emad, any closing thoughts before we wrap this show up?
Maybe down the line we could talk about violence in Chicago and talk about possibly some American issues and American politics and things like that, because they do. A lot of people see one thing about Sheikh Jamal in Mosque Foundation. Sheikh Jamal is my ideal sheikh in a sense. He's not perfect.
He's a good dude,
but he's a great dude.
Yeah.
Go out and vote. As soon as he says that, they say, "Oh, that's not Islam." That's not Islam. Why is he saying stuff like that? Sheikh Jamal says, do not go out this. It's an entrance. It's not an exit. They go out. Sheikh Jamal says, you're driving around smoking cigarettes with hijab in your car and holding your phone in your hijab and not paying, he's this and he's that. Sheikh Jamal is the ideal person. We need to be involved in this nation. You don't assimilate to them, but you hope and try to get them to assimilate to you. But at the same time, you respect the things in this nation in the sense that you utilize them, you're voting and so on and so on. But I would like to talk, maybe next time we could hold a thing about, even because I tell Americans, even though I'm deported, even though I wasn't born here, I sometimes find myself thinking of myself more American than Americans because I'm not willing to give up the Constitution. I'm not willing to give up my rights. And that one of the founding fathers, or maybe later after the founding fathers, said, and I love this statement, is that he who is willing to give up his freedom in the name of security deserves neither.
I think it was John Adams. I don't know.
Was it? I think it was. It was.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was.
But I mean, I think I'd like to bring you back to also on that because there's a quick thing I've been noticing lately too, and I follow a lot of brothers on Instagram and stuff and TikTok, and there's a movement. Like he mentioned, there's Muslims who are becoming Muslims in prison, but they're also, when they get out, they're impacting Muslims or young people on the South Side.
Yeah.
And just recently on the O Block, they were praying Salatul Jummah outside.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And that's been my biggest gripe. And I've even talked about it, I think last time. I said the neglect of the Muslim community to recognize that Hispanic Americans, European Americans, African Americans are coming to Islam. And we need to support them. I got out of prison. There was no support system. I was praying 5 times a day. I'm missing nothing, doing everything. There was no support system. There's no support system. There is no support system. And it deals with some of the people that run these masajid. They're not educating the community. They're scared to say certain things because they don't want the donations and the funding and all this other stuff. But at the same time, you're turning, so to speak, Islam into Christianity. The same way they deal with Christianity in the churches, that's what we're...
I wanted to give a shout out to all of the brothers and sisters, or hopefully just brothers, in prison who are listening to the Mad Mamluks. I get messages all the time from the brothers who are incarcerated right now. They all, a lot of them listen to us, and just wanted to know that I know that some of them wanted me to reach out. I just didn't have the time or the bandwidth to reach out to them, but I will do my best to reach out to you. Lots of love to you guys, brother.
And stay strong. No matter what. When you come out, if you find that honestly, I would try to find brothers within the African American community who are doing decent things out here. Do not, and I say this with a grain of salt. Do not try to come and find support within these other communities.
Yeah.
I would stick with the African American community because they understand. A lot of these brothers in these foreign communities, even if they've been born here and so on, they don't understand your plight. It needs to be somebody who has that. I lived it. I know it. Some of my thing was I came out in 2004 out of federal prison, and things were still light, and it was right after September 11, not too far after that. Things were tight. So you want support, find a decent African American community and deal with that.
And on that note too, if you are incarcerated and you want to be connected with the program that helps prisoners who are in prison get educated, and also on the release and halfway homes. There's a great organization by Sheikh Rami and Surah Tayyiba Foundation. Just look them up. They'll be happy to send you material. There's prison support. There's even when you get out.
Where is it at?
They're based in California, but they do it all over.
Okay.
Yeah, Sheikh Rami and Sur, I think it's called the Tayyiba Foundation. They do wonderful work, and they help you even with work release and everything after prison too. Try to find you a place to stay, get you stable, find a workplace for you, a place to live. So definitely reach out to them if you want some assistance.
All right, brothers. Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Emad, for coming in. I know it's we were planning a different show, but what happened.
Well, actually, I think we got everything in.
It was a perfect pretext, I guess, right?
That's why I said we'll play it naturally. We'll start out with something.
Yeah.
It's a natural conversation.
That's how it is, man. Anytime when it come by, we just chop it up, man. Anytime. The mic's open for you, man.
Yeah, you're just the best, man. I've praised you enough already. But for our listeners, next week we have Zulfiqar Ali Shah, who is coming in on Saturday, October 14th, 2 p.m. around this time. So be on the lookout for that. He's done incredible work in the sciences of philosophy and how Islam plays integrated with modern philosophy. Written extensively on that. I think it'll be a great conversation and great refresher. We haven't had those kind of episodes in a while. And then a couple more shows after that related to the Sira, really innovative ways that two different efforts are happening. One of them is by a brother named Asad Koshal, who is a local to our community here in Chicago. He initiated a new way of learning the life of the Prophet, and we really want to highlight that. And then also Brother Nader Tabata from Islam by Touch. He also created a new way of learning Sirah through audio lectures not lectures, but audio stories on YouTube. So really excited about having those episodes on with them. Go ahead and throw a comment in the comment section below. Hit that like button, and we'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.